Hello viewers, and welcome to part 1 of what will hopefully be a short mini-series on layoffs. Unfortunately, last week I was served with papers announcing my layoff at my company. It was a bit abrupt, not really a thing that a lot of people had been expecting. But as you can see, they don't come on a pink sheet anymore. However, there is a lot of text and contractual language. It can be a bit of a whirlwind, depending on how much of a surprise or a shock it is to you. In essence, all of this text kind of says that the company may or may not ask for you to return to work in the next 3 to 6 months. Now, this once you came over the initial shock of the employment of the mental complexities of being rejected from a job, you're asking yourself, why me? Why not someone else? Try not to dwell too much on those topics, as it's kind of a dead-end path. You want to be focusing forward, thinking of the new things you're going to be doing rather than the older things that have happened. You can't control those, and at the time, while you're still kind of emotionally charged on this issue, you're really going to want to avoid making comments to your supervisors, to the HR, because you really don't want to set yourself up to maybe eat some crow later. Best thing you can do, ask a lot of questions about the termination or the layoff, what can be expected, what benefits are available to you, what are timelines for you to, say, get personal belongings out of your office, different things like that. So part of this, we're going to go through 4 items that you should be doing in your first week of unemployment or layoff. These are critical because this process is, it will expire. At some point, your unemployment benefits will run out and you will have no income. Now, I'm taking this as a bit of an opportunity to really proof out our thriftism model. As anyone who's seen our videos and kind of follows our channel on YouTube, you can see that we've built a lifestyle around this, and it's this idea of saving for long-term goals, long-term benefits, rather than this short-term indulgence. Living within your financial means, avoiding debt, doing all these things so that when something unexpected like this happens, our household income is going to be cut in half, as I am out of work. In that process, we don't want to have to really have a financial hardship because of that. So we'll go through a couple of these items and we'll talk about what you need to do right away. First area we're going to talk about is going to be, let me introduce the 4 areas to you here. We've got your benefits, we have personal finances, your job search, and as well as talking a little bit about time management, your spare time, what you'll be doing in this new period of your life. So, benefits. Unemployment benefits, you want to fill out your unemployment application immediately. This is going to be through the state that your employer pays the unemployment taxes to. So, for one case, I live in Minnesota. I, however, work in North Dakota. My benefits will come from North Dakota rather than where I pay my income tax, which is Minnesota. So, little clarification there. Be sure to ask your HR person about this too. They can provide any information. Look carefully at this form work. There's a lot of information in there, a lot of small text. It's going to talk about, say, your health insurance. Is that going to continue? Who's going to pay for it? You also have options for COBRA, depending on where you can purchase the health insurance as a continuance. What happens to your vacation and sick time? What happens to your retirement accounts, employee stock programs? You're going to want to answer these questions because after you leave the workplace, while you can still call your HR people and get information, you're going to become more and more isolated from the company in this time period. You also want to start your unemployment benefits immediately because there's oftentimes a 1-week waiting period where you will receive no compensation. And you also want to be very familiar with the guidelines per your state. So in North Dakota, for instance, you need to be actively looking for another job if you are receiving unemployment benefits. You need to be making contacts. You need to fill out their certification requirements. What did you do this week to find new employment? You need to get a resume up on their website. All of these different things to make sure that you get that money to start coming in. Now keep in mind that you'll also understand how much money you are going to get and how long you are going to get that. That will vary by state, by quite a bit. So just be checking that. Most states will have a Department of Labor that will provide some of that information to you. So next we're going to go into our personal finances. Now this is where the thriftism idea really hits home. Again, there can be a lot of details. You're going to take some time and really understand your personal finance timeline. You need to look at a number of different items. Let's say you have a single family home and you've just lost that income. You're now looking at a savings burn rate. What bills do you have that you have to pay? How much savings do you have to operate? Ideally, you'll have about 3 to 6 months worth of savings, hopefully more in some cases. But this will give you an idea of how long you can look for a job without receiving, that full paycheck before you have to start making bigger decisions. And if you have to make bigger decisions, you want to start or be aware of those earlier in the process. Now, in our case, let's look at your unemployment benefits. Just as a general rule of thumb, if you're a typical employment, it's going to be somewhere around 50% of what your normal pay is. And a lot of times that will not have federal income tax taken out of it. So one thing to keep in mind is if you do collect unemployment, you will need to pay an income tax on that. So if you get to the end of the year and you've remembered, oh, I was on unemployment for 3 months earlier this year, that could be a quite large tax bill. Keep that in mind, whether you want that money up front or you want it taxed as you receive it. So as you're looking at your savings burn rate, you're going to want to try and cut any expenses that you have to a bare minimum. This is extra things that are out there. You really want to shore up your defenses. You want to fortify your positions because you don't know how long it will be until you have a job. You don't know if that new job you're going to receive is going to be of the same pay as your old one. There are a lot of things going on in the job market. You may be a part of a sector that is in a downturn. You may be part of a local or regional area that is in a downturn. And who knows how many other people are being laid off at the same time. So I think it's always best to be as conservative as possible, take as much of these expenses out of your budget. It's kind of interesting, I was reading a little bit on this layoff topic, and some places gave advice of people taking vacations, which to me was a little bit interesting of an advice. Not only are we rewarding kind of an action that's unfortunate by you taking your vacation, but who knows if that $1,000 you spend on vacation is going to be a make or break item later on, at month 6 of this process, month 8 of this process. So really try and avoid any unexpected, or not unexpected, but any excessive expenses. Always do your due diligence on this. By understanding your financial timeline, understanding how long you can live off your savings, what happens to your healthcare costs, different things like that, you can make decisions on, do I need a job next week? Do I need a job next month? Do I need a job next year? How much does that job have to pay? And it also brings in bigger questions of, let's say you have larger debts. You have a vehicle payment, you have a mortgage. You want to look at how those things come into play and judge accordingly. You may want to trade in that vehicle, take a short-term loss to avoid that negative cash flow on your monthly budget. Again, this gets back to our thriftism lifestyle. You want to try and, these unexpected things don't stop happening after you're laid off. You may still get sick, you may still have a car issue, you may have a furnace go out at your house and have a larger payment to come up with. So again, try and cut things back, save as much money as you can on your monthly income. You'll have a lot of time instead of money, so you can look at ways of saving that. So third item is going to be on your job search. Immediately you're going to want to start looking at updating your resume, your cover letter template. This is your flagship document that builds all other documents in this process. Take some time with it. Once you have your resume set up, and again, you should be hopefully maintaining this through your employment, updating it with new projects, new people, new tasks, accomplishments, however. And you'll take this and then you'll go on and you'll update, say, like your LinkedIn account. This should match the things that you just put on your resume. You want to go out to the different job boards, the different networking sites, see what jobs are out there. Does it seem like the economy overall is doing poorly, or is just your company doing poorly? And that'll give you an idea of how long this job search is going to take. The reason you want to start with this right away is because a lot of times these job searches or these hirings will take a certain amount of patience. I mean, it may be 2 weeks before you even hear a call back from anyone. Just as they read, review, look at different applicants for different jobs, and maybe give you a call back and say we need to interview you, and then it's another 2 weeks before they make a decision. So it's always good to get these processes started right away. Good place to go right away with this is going to be consider your previous contacts or clients. Let's say there's people that you've worked with recently on different projects, and give them a call from different companies and say, hey, we worked together back on this project, and I'm a little bit down on my luck with a layoff, but I would really enjoy the opportunity to discuss becoming an employee of your company. Can you help me out in any way like that? You're going to be a lot more successful in your job search, your job hunt, especially if you have a person or a contact at this company already. And then they can vouch for you. They can say, hey, I remember working with this person and they did a really good job. And then just start applying for jobs. That's just a big part of it. Getting that job application out there right away is always a good thing. And it's part of positioning yourself after this layoff. Your old company may or may not call you back to work, but how good will it feel from your standpoint to be able to tell them, you know what, I've got a different opportunity I'm taking now that will hopefully not have to deal with layoffs in the future or unexpected work items, because I think there's always going to be a little bit of employee resentment with those types of things. And lastly, let's talk about your spare time. Now, a layoff, again, mentally charged, emotionally charged issue. There's going to be a lot of things going on with that. And I think it's important, especially the next couple of days after the layoff, to maintain a routine. You want to try and stay in that same process of getting up at the same time, trying to structure your day in a similar way of going after different tasks. Keep yourself busy and purposeful. There are a lot of things that can be done during a layoff. You've got unfinished projects around your house. Obviously you don't want to be going out and buying a whole bunch of materials for your bathroom reno, but how about that leaky faucet that you haven't gotten around to for the last 3 months, or painting the kids' bedrooms, or looking at cleaning and just general house upkeep. That feels very purposeful at the end of the day to still get a bunch of things done. You're improving your house, you're taking care of business. It's always good to have a little bit of hard work in there. Next item, say self-improvement. Great time to be reading books on leadership, communication, different job skills that you may be looking at. There's lots of information out there on the internet. There's all kinds of free courses that you can take. Coursera, for instance, offers all kinds of free classes that you could be taking to gain additional information, make yourself more useful, and maybe a better employee going forward. And lastly, just as part of any good lifestyle, exercise and health. How many times have I heard, oh, I'd be healthier, but I don't have time? Now you're going to have more time than you are money, and one way to avoid costly items such as health expenses are by staying in shape, maintaining a healthy weight. Maybe it's a good time to start that diet. Maybe it's a good time to start moving more, taking better care of yourself, preparing more of your own meals. Not only will that be cheaper, but that'll also be healthier for you in the long run. So I want you guys to stay strong out there, and we'll check back in next week when we'll try and break down a little bit more of the emotional side of the layoff. We'll update you on any hearbacks or anything we've heard from the previous week's search, and we'll talk to you then.